Okay, welcome everyone. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you all for joining. We're very excited about this project, Building Bridges. We started this project before the pandemic. The Painted Bride's been investigating new ways of programming, and we started this project thinking we would bring together 5 artists who haven't necessarily known each other or worked together before, and to get their ideas about what it would look like to do programming in communities throughout Philadelphia. And so we charged them all to come up with an idea of an artistic program that would happen in a neighborhood in Philadelphia. And they developed ideas, and then the pandemic hit, and we really worked to shift to see, okay, well, if we can't be live and in person in communities, how can we be in communities and bring artistic process to different neighborhoods? So it was challenging in a way because artists were.
I can't hear it.
You can't hear me?
I got it.
Hi, honey.
Hi.
It was challenging because it was different from the way that artists were working, and so everybody was pushed beyond their what they usually do. So it's been a wonderful experience. I'm grateful that we did have the opportunity to one time be live and in person. Our first meeting was before the pandemic, and really got to sit down with one another and get to know one another, and felt a real connection between people. So we're really excited about this group of artists working together, and we've learned a lot about each other over the past couple months. So my hope is that these projects can continue and grow and eventually be out in live in neighborhoods beyond the virtual experience. The Bride is continuing to explore how do we support artists in these times, and how do we build community when we can't gather, and how do we bring care and compassion to communities that are suffering in this time. So I hope that you all will consider supporting the project, and there'll be in the chat ways that you can support the project. Thank you to the people who have already supported the project, and 100% of the funding will go to these 5 artists. So please consider supporting them. And now I'd like to introduce Li Sumpter, the project manager. Thank you.
Thanks, Laurel, and good evening to everybody. Thank you so much for coming out or logging on tonight to join us. So this is going to be the first conversation of 2 for the Building Bridges project. And tonight I'm excited to moderate this particular conversation between artist Ursula Rucker and mother of 4, and artist Caitlin Green, mother-to-be. And so, as you probably know, the theme for tonight's conversation is birthing creativity, and that seemed pretty perfect for these 2 ladies to share their insights. And so we're going to get into, as far as what you can expect for tonight, they are going to present their work. They're going to give presentations on their works in progress for the Building Bridges project. And then I'm going to engage them in a few questions, basically a conversation for about another 20 minutes or so. And then we're going to open up questions to you all, the audience, and you can submit your questions. I think you were able to submit questions in advance through Painted Bride, right, if I'm not correct. And then I think you can also do it through the live chat now. So keep your questions in mind, jot them down, and there'll be a time when you guys can share those. But also, too, just to share also who the other artists are in the cohort. We have, as I mentioned, Caitlin Green and Ursula Rucker with us tonight. We also have Ani Gavino, James Sprang, Anthony Molden, as well, who will be joining us for the next conversation next week, the same time, Friday next week, the 29th, 7 p.m. So without further ado, I'm going to share a bit about Ursula Rucker. She is a Philadelphia-born mother of 4 sons, world-renowned, award-winning poet, activist, educator, and recording artist. She's been performing, recording, and releasing works for almost 30 years. She is dedicated to art for social change and committed to freedom fighting, fire starting, truth telling, and peacemaking through her chosen art form. Her project, her work in progress, that she's going to be sharing with you tonight is an anti-violence viral peace anthem. And we have Caitlin Green. She is a dance artist based in Philly, originally from Huntington, PA. And in her work, Caitlin aims to activate conversation, self-evaluation, and vitality, both personally and collectively. In her obsession with dance and movement, she tends to concentrate on the body's role in wellness, individuality, and expressions of personal and collective narratives. And her project is called Hey Homebody. So let's get right into it. My first question is posed to the both of you, but maybe Ursula, you could start. I'm just wondering what you think of, when you think of motherhood or you think of mother, what ideas and images come to mind for you?
Oh, wow, that's a loaded question. Anything that has any kind of images that have to do with a lot of hard work.
That works. That works for me. How about you, Caitlin?
Motherhood, definitely being in tune with yourself and kind of this intuitive nature and nourishment and care and yeah, that is a loaded question. Ursula's right. There's so many things.
It is. I did give you all the questions in advance. So I'm just but that's cool. But that's the thing. You know, motherhood is a loaded question because motherhood, I mean, when you think of things in terms of how powerful it is, you know, we all have mothers, right? But we also have mother wounds. We have mother goddesses. I mean, there's a continuum of representations of motherhood. And given the subject of this conversation, I thought, you know, it would be good for us to have a sense of kind of where you are with these ideas before you share your work as it relates to birthing creativity, but also relating the idea of motherhood and mothering and nurturing ideas, right? And works of art. So kind of the second question around that was about the creative spirit and thinking about, like, if you think of that in relationship to fertility, right? And the ideas of when ideas are most ripe for you, or when is the best time for you to create? Like, when do you feel that your mind's eye, your imagination is most fertile and ready to create?
Lee, I don't know if you mentioned that Caitlin is a mother to be in July. She's getting ready to have
I definitely did. No, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I can answer that question to start. You said when are kind of creative ideas most ripe for us?
Right.
It definitely varies. I definitely feel like when I'm going through hardship or when I'm in a challenging place mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that it's kind of being creative is kind of my go-to in terms of like getting myself out or processing my emotions and identifying what I need. I think it kind of goes with the nature of creativity being really a way of being resilient and of like finding new pathways and discover like kind of this trial and error, like discovering new ways to be or to think about things or to process so that it's not so harsh all the time. So definitely when I'm going through something, I find myself using creativity as an outlet. But other than that, just like, I feel like I'm always pulling ideas from my environment and being perceptive, trying to be perceptive, or trying not to be perceptive, but still being perceptive. Sometimes like during times like this, I feel like there's so much going on in the world and like my mind can go in so many different directions. So sometimes I want to turn that off and I feel like I can't. But I think that, yeah, I'm always engaged with my environment and the people around me And that definitely sparks inspiration and creativity for how to communicate that. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. How about you, Urs?
Thanks, Caitlin. Thanks, Lee. And by the way, Lee, I did read your prospectus on all the questions and everything. It was super impressive. Thank you, sis. It was amazing.
I didn't want to throw you on curveballs. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Oof. So much. I was thinking about so many things as you were speaking, Caitlin, and then so let me start with this T-shirt I have on, right?
Wow.
Because this is my oldest son, Sudan, who is 25 now. This is him in my belly. And this is a photo from press photos from my very first recording ever with King Britt and our dear brother, Imposi Tolbert, who we all loved, who was an amazing photographer and journalist.
Rest in
Yes, we all loved him so very much. And this is so special to me, but it kind of embodies everything we're talking about, because this was like from my very first recording, you know. So it's like, here we are right here. My son was in my belly when all of this was happening, my first son, and I have 4 sons. So obviously I've never let having children stop me, although it's been super challenging and really crazy and wild. But somehow, you know, I've just been blessed to have a community and a family around me to provide childcare, support. All of these things are so important when you choose to live your life as an artist and you're a parent. Oh, and you're an activist and you want to talk about some real stuff. Yeah, it gets complicated, you know. But anyway, this is my oldest son, Sudan's new song. It's called Spirits Up. What's up? You know what I mean?
And he
This
just
is-
joined the, he came in.
And
He's
this is
with us.
And this is what it's about, Caitlin. When you have your child, your children, you're gonna support them. You're gonna big them up. You're gonna like, oh my goodness, you're gonna be their biggest fan. Even when they get on your nerves, you're gonna be like, oh, that's my kid. You know, yeah, it's a wild ride, and taking them to shows and, you know, taking them up in the club while you rocking I mean, oh my goodness. So yeah, this is why it's like these questions are so loaded, because like my whole entire life revolves around the juxtaposition of artist mama. You know what I mean? Like that's my whole entire like universe.
Yeah. No, it's heavy. It's heavy stuff. It's heavy stuff. That's why, you know, I knew this was going to be a rich conversation, especially because, I mean, how amazing that, I mean, we're just so lucky to have you, Ursula, with all your experience and the time that you have had with your sons and the experiences that you have endured and been blessed with, you know, been challenged by. And then here we have Caitlin just on the event horizon of all this beautiful stuff to come. So yeah, I'm excited. So we're gonna let you two dive into your presentations. Thank you for sharing and kind of setting the tone for the rest of the conversation. I believe that Caitlin, you were gonna be first to present, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, take it away.
And Lanish, do you have the video, or should I?
Sure, you want me to show that first?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
During a time where introspection and self-reflection have been abundant, courtesy to the stay-at-home order issued as a response to COVID-19, I've been reminded of the many ways that my body has been a resource for regulating emotional, physical, and spiritual health. Dance has taught me to be in tune and in touch with my body in ways that have given me tools for coping with stress and some of life's most trying challenges. My body has given me insights to myself and brought some awarenesses and understanding to surface that have propelled me towards growth. I want to share what I've learned from this lifelong process of familiarizing myself with my body's language. I spent most of 28 years of my life discovering myself through the guise of my body, using it as a means of self-expression, a guide to physical wellness, and arguably most importantly, an emotional outlet. In growing the relationship with my body over the years, I found it more challenging than expected to format my movement practice in such a way that I'd be able to share it with others. To explicitly state what I so often intuitively do came as a surprisingly difficult task. I think the added pressure of relearning my body as it makes its swift adjustments to cultivate new life has altered my process and movement practice a lot naturally. But some things have remained essential throughout my ever-changing movement practice, and I look forward to sharing them during this time of uncertainty. I want to start by first asking one question. How do you find home in your body? Okay, so this project actually, it changed a lot from what it looked like when we first started because of, coronavirus coming in and, us having to kind of make all these adjustments. So I wanted to think about how have I found peace, like found tranquility and um, just grounded myself in times where there's a lot of uncertainty, where um, things are kind of unpredictable and overwhelming, and um, how do I find myself and come back to myself in those moments, and to share that with others, because I think we're all kind of trying to figure out what's next, and just how to deal with everything that's going on in the world on a large scale. And then we also have our personal kind of things that we're going through as well. And what I came to is that I definitely have always used dance and movement and my body as a source of grounding and a source of coping and regulating and being able to identify what my needs are, and then begin to go for that and to get what I need for myself, whether it's a change of diet, whether it's you know figuring out what I need emotionally. My body has been kind of that outlet and that cathartic release for me. So I wanted to tap into what is my process and what is my movement practice. And it was really funny because I wasn't really able to identify it like off the bat. It comes kind of intuitively, like different things that I do for myself for self-soothing and for grounding. So this was really an opportunity for me to reflect and to be able to kind of write down and name what are these things that I do, what are these coping mechanisms that I turn to. And so jumping into this project, I definitely see my body as a comfort, as a place of kind of regrounding and recuperating. And I started thinking about the different places that I've lived and the different places where I've felt at home. And not all of the places where I've lived, I've felt at home. And I'm just thinking about we have a stay-at-home order right now, and how that looks for different people. For some people, it's great. Some people it's like I don't have to go out too much. For some people, it's you're stuck in the house with somebody that you don't get along with or you're not safe with. Some people don't have homes to come to. So just thinking about ways that you can find home in yourself and find your body as a place of regulation. So my project is going to go with two parts. It's going to have more of like an informative kind of me sharing my practice, my movement practice, in hopes that other people can relate to that and take some of these tools, these coping mechanisms, for instance, different ways of building self-awareness and body awareness, and then going from there, because first, being aware of your body, being aware of yourself can help you to identify your needs emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically, and then working towards ways that movement can support you getting what you need. So I'm going to share a little bit about that. I'm still figuring out if I want to do what the delivery of that's going to look like. So it might be a video, or it might be kind of a conversation like this one. And then the second part of the project is going to be a performative piece. So I have two collaborators that I'm really excited about. Two really good friends and dancers. One is Tyra Crooks Jones Blaine. She's a recent Temple grad from the dance program. She recently got her BFA. She's also, I want to read this because I don't want to mess it up. She's also the winner of MX Everything 2018. And that's Philly's first non-binary performance competition. So she won that, and she's just an awesome human. I'm excited for people to get to see her work. And Sierra Cribb, who's actually in the house right now. Hey. She's with B Swan Dance Company, and she is on her way to getting her master's in public health. She recently got her master's in social work, so she's doing it. She's out here. And so, yeah, we're going to be collaborating. I have created a movement score, an improv score based on my movement practice that I do for self-regulation. So we're kind of going to break that down. I got 1 minute, right? Okay. And over the process of about, we're going to do 5 different sessions, and basically out of these improv score, come up with choreography to put together to show a piece. So, and it's really process oriented. So I've encouraged them to really indulge in the improv score to get what they need. There's a journaling process within it, and then we're going to engage in discussion to kind of process and share our experiences within that, as well as we put the choreography together. So I'm really excited about all of that. And yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you so much. It's great to hear about it, because we meet weekly for our project meetings and everything, but it's really great to hear you talk about it in such depth, and how far you're coming along with your ideas and bringing on your collaborators. Welcome, Sierra. We're looking forward to the work you're going to create together. So thank you so much. And next we're going to have Ursula up to present her work.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Caitlin. That was amazing. Oh my goodness. I was like, damn, Caitlin just put me to shame. I don't got no video. That was awesome. That was beautiful. I love that. I love it. Yeah, this is such a beautiful, beautiful project entirely, building bridges on the rise. I mean, I love the whole concept. I love the dynamic levels of just thinking about building bridges and all the different ways you can do that. My particular specific project, which does not have its own title yet, because I am building a song, an anthem, from the ground up with my super dear homie brother, Miles Orion Butler, who I've worked with on my open mic night at the Kensington Storefront. We've done work at Graterford on his previous project, Songs in the Key of Free. And anyway, he's my homie, and he is part owner of my favorite coffee shop that I miss so much right now, Germantown Espresso. I want to go back. Come on, let's not hurry up outside, but let's just hurry up and be able to go back outside. So I'm building this, what I call a pro-peace, anti-violence, super Philly-centric, multi-generationalist anthem that I intend to make go viral with my two youngest sons, Cypress and Sage, which Lanish, I don't know if you could cue it up, but one of the photos I sent you is me standing in the middle with them on either side of me, like some years ago. I don't know if you can cue it up, but it doesn't matter.
I don't know if I have that one ready to
Okay.
go. I have a couple. You want me to show
Okay,
the
okay.
two that I have?
Yeah, I was just dropping photos to you, like boom, boom, boom. Look,
Here, let's see.
you said you wanted photos of my sons. Here you go. I could send you like 25, so I had to hold back. Yeah, so Cypress is the one with the Batman shirt on. He is now 18. He just turned 18. Sage, my youngest, is the little one with the white shirt on there in the middle, and he's going to be 16 next month. And then each of their best friends respectively, Delvin and Saran, who they both grew up with. And so it's just going to be great because like they're my nephews. And you can go back, Manish. And thank you. So, you know, we just had our first group video call this past Wednesday. Oh my God, they taught me and Miles how to have an IG video chat. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so cool now. Like, I'm just learning all kinds of things, you know, I expect to just learn so much from the young people. And what I think is really beautiful, there are many things that are beautiful, but Miles, who is a super skillful, highly classically trained musician in many instruments, but he's never made a hip hop track. And so I think it's really cool that this is his first hip hop track. He's super open to everyone's suggestions, and the teenagers feel seen, they feel heard. Me and Miles feel seen and heard. And I think that's a really beautiful thing to do multi-generationally, especially right now, because coming out of this and through this, we're going to need each other. All of us are going to need each other. It doesn't matter how old or where from or what you believe in or whatever. So, you know, this is the work that we're doing right now. But Lanish, do you have the little sneak preview sound clip?
I do.
Okay,
Here you go.
can you play that? And then I'll talk about it.
Blue bridges, blue bridges, blue bridges, blue.
Okay, so it's super, super short, and it's really, really like kind of mutated in this little audio, the audio in this box right here. But I wanted Lanish to play that first because I want to tell you how I built the hook, because that's where we're starting to build the song. And I just, like, I love it. Like, I geek out about this stuff. So I think it's really cool. Oh, my oldest son, Sudan, said, play the audio clip one more time. Just turn it down a little bit and EQ it. I'm just playing. Turn it down a little bit. Yeah.
Blue bridges, blue bridges, blue bridges, blue.
Oh yeah, that was better. Oh, that was better. Ooh. See, you wish you could hear the whole hook now, right? Don't you? I know, that's the point. That's the point, you know. So it's like
Teaser.
yeah. So I wrote a haiku on the way, actually, from a photo I took on the way to the Painted Bride one day. I took this photo coming off the highway there at the 8th Street or 6th Street exit or whatever. You remember that, right? I don't know. We haven't been outside in a while, but you know, that exit that we used to go off of when we went outside. And so I wrote this haiku, I put it, I affixed it onto that photo. And the haiku is, what does it mean to build bridges from the inside while outside is closed? And so that hook is just a little sneak, because I don't want to give you the whole thing, but the first line is, what does it mean to build bridges from the inside? And then you can guess the rest because it's coming. And each of the teenagers is going to do their own verse. I'm going to do my own verse. We're going to be talking about really honestly about living in this city that is super amazing and unique, but very violent and very dangerous. Like, let's keep it real. And I'm just so excited and anxious to hear their perspective and see how they do it creatively, and have us build and arrange and compose and do this thing together. And they're super excited because, you know, they know that I'm involved, so they know it's real, because I don't play. Everything is going to be mixed, mastered, super professional. So thank you to the Painted Bride, Laura Raska, and everybody, Lee and Lanish, and all the artists that are part of this project for giving us something to do right now.
That's real. That's real. We need to be doing stuff other than watching Netflix and eating ourselves silly, because I know. But were you finished, Urs? Because I mean, thank you so much for sharing. I didn't know if you had any more words to share, but we can go right into the questions if you are. Okay, let's go. So thank you so much to Caitlin and Ursula for sharing a little bit of their work. Yes, let's give I know you guys are on mute, but let's give some claps for Urs and Caitlin for sharing their work in progress, giving us a little sneak peek. We really appreciate that. So my first question for you guys is around your process, right? Now we know, okay, that it takes 9 months to bring a human soul, a life into the world. But I'm wondering, how long does it take you to birth a work of art, like, or your projects? Do you have, you know, a usual time frame? Is it different each time? Like, how long does it take for you to bring your work into the world? And Ursula, you can go first, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Wow, I love that question. Wow, I would say,
on average, you know.
Yeah, I would say that I'm really, at the end of the day, and I like this phrase, at the end of the day. I think my partner Anthony, I think he despises that phrase, but I love that phrase, at the end of the day. At the end of the day, that it comes pretty fast. You know, after I put the thought into it, right? I get the vision, I have the idea. If I'm part of somebody else's project, or if it's my own personal project, right? I mean, if you're part of somebody else's project, well, then that's different, because the time bit is also reliant upon the other people. Oh wait, they muted me. So what did you miss? Somebody muted me. What did you miss? Did you miss everything? Because I was saying.
No, just that last syllable. Honestly, I think it was. Yeah.
Okay, don't mute me. That don't go well. When people try to mute me, it's not.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm just playing. Yeah. So, but when it comes pretty fast. You know, which I love. You know, I love. And actually, except for Sudan, all of my sons came out pretty swift. Sudan was the one I was in labor with, my oldest, the longest, for like 27 hours. It was bananas.
Wow.
Yeah, but
I was born in 45 minutes. Just saying. That's how much I love my mom.
If 45 minutes?
45 minutes flat, yeah. I was ready to come. I was ready.
Oh yeah. It went.
I'm hoping that for you, Caitlin.
Oh my gosh, yes, I'm praying on that one. I'm definitely
everybody's different. Sudan was 27 hours. My second soul was 4 hours. Then Cyprus was 1 hour, and then And then the youngest who I had at home was about, like 40, 45 minutes. So,
Wow.
you know how we do.
Well, what about you, Caitlin? So like when you're working on your choreography, on your dance pieces, is there usually like a time frame, an incubation period before you feel like it's ready to go?
Definitely. And it does feel like depending on the project, it's always different. But I definitely feel like I go through like phases of like the initial like inspiration and motivation, like excitement around starting a project. And then I come up with things pretty easily in that phase. Like I love to choreograph. I just do it for fun and then don't do anything with it. Like I'll just make up combinations to songs I'm really into or that I feel connected to, like around the house. I've done that a lot, especially during like the quarantine and everything. But when I have an actual project to work on, and this is like more solo projects than collaborations, I guess. They could overlap too, but yeah, the period of like excitement and like it's kind of like just like coming out really easily. And then the second phase comes in where I'm like second guessing everything and I'm like being a perfectionist and I like, when you look at a picture too long and you start to like not like it anymore or something like that. I definitely go through that and then have to kind of come to grips with like, well, what about this isn't working or doesn't feel authentic or needs kind of like rethinking. And then, yeah, there's a moment of just like going for it and trusting the process. And yeah, I think that when I have work where I'm collaborating with other people, I saw that Jess is here, who I think was the last artist that I collaborated with because I was choreographing for an elementary school play. And
yes, you were.
Yes, she's amazing. And we worked so well together. And so it was like that. I kind of did my own choreography. I was working with the dancers, and I was planning at my house just for them. And then it was kind of coming out pretty easily. And then you get into the space and you're like, all right, well, all these other factors are coming in, skill level, you have all the different personalities of the dancers you're working with. And like, how do they interact? How do they come together? How do you modify what you're making to fit the room and fit the bodies and fit the people and the personalities? And then on top of that, having like other collaborators come in who, like Jess was working with the actors and singers of the play. And there was a scene where we were kind of trying to figure out like, how do our moments come together? Or is this just a dance team part? And we decided to collab on that. And so that shifted things around because there's like twice as many people on stage than I had expected in staging. And we have to like really work together to figure out like what that's gonna look like. So yeah, I think every process is different. And then like whenever I'm teaching class and teaching choreography for a class, that kind of comes at a faster pace because it's kind of really mirrors my own hobby of choreographing and coming up with things in the house. I just kind of bring that into the studio and teach it and break it down. So that process of like creating those short, and that's like maybe a minute, 2 minutes of a song. So like however many 8 counts. And so that process is a lot shorter. So yeah, it's different every time. It's really different every time. Much like what you guys are saying about childbirth. Like Ursula's 4 sons all came at different, from 27 hours to 45 minutes. So yeah, definitely seeing those connections.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, because my next question is actually about if you could talk about when there might have been a time when creating was really a challenge, when it was hard to push the work out, right? In the sense that whether, writers have writer's block, there's times, I know for me, myself, like when I was trying to write my dissertation, there was a time when I couldn't write anything. And the way, there was like something that helped me to get through it. I actually wound up going to like movies all the time. Movies became my sanctuary. And during that time, because I was actually writing about the movies, so in order to I had to switch gears. Instead of writing and thinking all the time, I had to consume media and think about things in a different way. So wondering if you could talk about a time when you might have had a challenge to create and how you pushed through that moment. Like, what was it that helped you get to the other side and actually create more freely? And you could start, Caitlin, actually.
Yeah, so many different moments popped in my head during whenever you're saying that. Definitely can relate on the thesis pains. And I have two of my committee members in here today, which is awesome. Hi, Ellen and Jacelyn. And yeah, I think that, so there are two different like main categories of challenges for me when I'm creating. One of them is when you are collaborating with somebody who you're not vibing with all the way, or that you're having a hard time connecting to or connecting with. I think that is so important. I think that process is so important, especially when you're collaborating with other people. And yeah, I think that, so I guess that answers the question a little bit, of when you're having a hard time, whenever I've been in the situation where I've had a hard time collaborating. I think what kind of helps overcome that is identifying it, confronting it, and really focusing on process, like really making sure that the collaborators are seeing each other, the collaborators are hearing each other, and having just a way to communicate, to push through. And then at the end of rehearsals, like closing the process in some type of way, before separating and reconvening. I think that's been really important for me, is being really intentional about how you enter a collaboration, making sure values and ideas can be shared. And then individually, when I'm running into like a creative block, I think I just like needing to step away, needing to like be out of the chaos of what's going on in my mind or my body. I think that's always, like, taking that space has given me opportunity to see clearly. And sometimes I don't let myself do that. So I think it just stirs it up more and makes it really difficult. If I'm in a time crunch, or I'm just really excited about something, but I'm feeling like I can't communicate it the way I would like to, or I don't have the narrative right. I think stepping back from it, like really letting myself not think about it, not focus on it, but then getting back to like my environment and back to connecting with other people often helps with that inspiration and gives me different ideas. So yeah, I think
that answers it. Thank you. How about you, Ursula? When have you experienced some creative blockage, and how did you get through it?
Thanks, Caitlin. Thinking so many, oh my goodness, I got emotional, just like kind of just thinking about this whole piece of being a mother and an artist and making it happen. And Ani had an amazing question, so I want to kind of wrap her question up into this one as well, because it's related. She says something about like when was there ever a time where you know, you had to like make a decision, you know, your art, your children, like how you gonna make it happen? Like that's, woo, go take this gig and leave the baby at home, because you really need this gig to feed the baby, right? But you don't really want to leave the baby because it's so hard to leave the baby. I mean, it's like, yo, shit is so real. It's the realest thing that I've ever experienced, you know, in my life. And so the writer's block piece is like part of all of that. It's like you have to still, you still have to like find ways to stay inspired and creative while figuring out how to make ways out of no way, because you live and survive as an artist, and you're also a mother. And then, you know, for me, it's like being what some would consider, you know, an underground artist, or a, you know, kind of not mainstream artist or whatever. So like, you know, I'm really working hard for all of my pennies, and a lot of times the pennies don't come, and that affects, you know, your writing as well. You know, when you're like trying to pay the bills as an artist and a mama, and you know, you worried about if you're gonna have the house foreclosed on, if you could pay the mortgage, you don't really feel like writing and recording those songs and making those song or anything like that. I mean, and that's real. So a lot of times mothers, artists who are also mothers, parents, whatever, just parents, okay? But you know, we're talking specifically about mamas. It's so different. I mean, like we could do a whole, let's do a whole talk on just this piece of it, because this piece is like so heavily packed, and I feel like us artists, mamas don't get, us professional, performing, working artists, mamas don't get to talk about what this is like, what this life is like, how we make it happen, what it feels like when we can't make it happen, when it's hard to make it happen. Oh my goodness. So thank you so much for asking this question. Oh, and the other part of that is, Ani, when you have to make that decision to leave the baby at home and go take that gig, oh, it's such a heartbreaker, right? It's like you have regrets about that for forever. You're like, you know, when I left my second son on his first birthday, I had a gig in upstate New York, and man, I'll never forget it. You know, I spent the whole day with him, and then I had to leave, and I still think to myself, I should have taken him with me, you know, or just, you know, being a freedom fighter and a torch holder. Some say light bringer, I say torch holder, because I set fires, okay? I set fires doing this work. I set fires doing this work. I set fires doing this work. And people don't like it. They run from it. It's hard, and it makes it hard on my kids. And it makes it hard to raise my kids and be a mother and have people understand what it takes to do this work and to be a mom and to keep doing this work, to be an artist, and to try and save the planet and its people, or help the planet and its people in any way. I don't want no cookies, but yo, give me my respect. Peace.
Peace. Oh my gosh. I'm shaking. I got goosebumps. I love you, Urs. I mean, wow. And that's the thing, is the strength. It's the strength wrapped up in the vulnerability and all of that like makes moms such warriors, you know? And like the mama artist to boot, it's like, wow. Whew. Wow. Yes. Thank you, Ani, for that question. My next question is really about that postpartum, that like letting go of your babies, and not your children babies, but your babies, your artworks, right? A lot of times artists refer to their art as their babies, their projects as their babies. So wondering, you know, for you all, like, you know, is it sorrow when you have to let go of a work, say goodbye to a piece, you know, let it out into the world? Or is it like a celebration, you know? How do you part with your work? Caitlin, sorry.
Well, I first want to say thank you, Ursula, for sharing that, because that's something that I worry about a lot, is doing the work, and following my passions, and like really making those things happen, and not being able to support my child, you know. So I definitely appreciate you speaking on like the heart that you have to put into it, and the, you know, the strife that it comes with. And I see you, and I respect you so much, because like I see you out here doing it, and with so much passion, you know. And yeah, and then I see
Thank you.
what you've shared at the last Zoom meeting, and a little bit today, with your t-shirt, and with like your son's accomplishments. Like, you're an incredible mother. Like, you're such a role model, and I just respect that a lot. And your hard work and your passion, it shows.
Thank you, sis. I love you. Thank you.
And back to the question was about postpartum. So once you create a piece of work, and then kind of letting it go, or letting it be from like in here, in your body, in your own kind of abstract mind, and then pushing it out for the world, for it to be a part of the world, and for other people to see it, and maybe criticize it, maybe judge it, maybe destroy it in some ways, like maybe piece it apart. I think that is a really scary thing, and that's why the process can be so hard sometimes, is because I'm anticipating all of that. I think if it were not so much about products, I think if it was mostly like I think that's why I keep my movement practice to myself a lot. I was actually talking to one of my friends about this earlier today, who's also in the chat. I'm hi Brittany. Yeah, once it's out there, it's like you're asking for vulnerability, you're asking for judgment, you're asking for critique, you're asking for all these eyes, like to see it and to have different feelings about it, and that can be really hard. And I definitely relating that to motherhood, and being now 7.5 months. Whew, crazy. I definitely feel that as well, with like not wanting, like just feeling really protective, because right now this baby doesn't have a lot to worry about, in terms of I take care of myself, and I'm taking care of them. You know, I'm eating right, sleeping, like, well, I'm not doing all these things perfectly, but it seems like all I have to do is be conscious about what I'm eating, be conscious about, you know, are my sleeping patterns okay? Am I getting enough rest? What is my stress level? Like, monitoring those things for myself is taking care of them. So postpartum comes, and now I have to take care of myself and keep myself afloat, and also be taking care of another human being who can't express themselves in ways that I might be able to understand right away. And, you know, all of the other, like, that's just us. And then there's all of the other factors of the world that come into play. You know, maybe family members that I don't agree with, how they operate, or, you know, when I'm walking to the street, how different people approach us or approach them. There's a whole pandemic happening. So what does support look like with that going on? And how do we stay safe? How do we stay healthy? So it's definitely a lot of pressure. It's definitely a lot of anticipation and anxiety around that. But I mean, I'm thinking like, with the same pressure that happens when I'm creating a piece of work that I'm nervous about releasing, or that I don't feel like it's quite ready, or that I just feel super open and vulnerable about. You always push through it. You always, you know, get good and bad feedback, get good and bad reactions. And then at the end of the day, it's like you kind of just, like it passes, and you keep rolling with the punches as you need to.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I can relate. How about you? How about you, Urs? How does it feel when you let go of a poem, an album, you drop an album? How does it feel? You celebrate or you shed a tear? What do you do?
Oh, wow. It's such a good, I love all your questions like that. You thematically were all clever with the questions.
I gotta keep up with you, girl. I'm trying to keep up.
It's good. It's good. Thank you, Caitlin. Beautiful answer. Yeah, it's bittersweet, right? It's always bittersweet. It's like, oh, I can't wait to be finished this project. It's blah, 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 blah. You know, you put so much into it, and then it's done, and you're just sitting there like you have post project withdrawal. You know, you've been engaging, and if you're working on an album, you've been seeing musicians, producers, talking, communicating, and it's a lot of hard work. But I mean, when it's done, it's such a great feeling of pride and relief, but it's also like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, I don't have that every day, that outlet every day. But then you have to be about the work of marketing and putting it out there, and then there's probably a tour. So, you know, it's a lot of work that goes into it, you know. I didn't mention before when we were talking about touring with children, that's a whole nother conversation, you know, touring when you have to go away for a month and leave your children for a whole month as a mom, a whole month as a mother. You have to leave your 3 sons at home for a month, and you're 7 months pregnant. Anyway, we do this shit. Give us our propers more often. I want to see it happening. Learn your lessons. Give artist mamas their respect for what they have to do to make this shit happen. And especially if they're artists of any kind of ilk that are authentic and real with their art, then you know it's always coming from the heart. And so when they give it to you, it's coming through a lot of channels and challenge to get to you. So thank you, you know, Building Bridges, for giving us this moment, this artist talk, me and Caitlin, you know, to talk about this life as artists, and this kind of like connection, this bridge between us, her as a new mama about to be, and me as an OG mama, you know, and that it's all relative, and that we hold each other up, and we need to support each other. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. And look, so I just got one more question before we take some questions from the chat. Lanish, if you're standing by, could you pull up that image that I had for you?
Yes.
So while she's pulling up the image, I will share the question. Because, you know, this is a crazy time. I mean, like you said, we've addressed the idea that, you know, this project began before the pandemic happened. And now here we are, and we've been in isolation and meeting on our weekly Zoom meetings for the last several weeks. And, you know, it's putting a different perspective on the work that's being created. And also, too, because we're talking about motherhood, and honestly, and thinking about Caitlin, when Caitlin shared the news that she was going to have a baby, and I actually had a friend who just gave birth to a baby 3 weeks ago. So I was with her during that time, and it's just like as Caitlin said, there's anxiety, there's excitement, so many things. But then I'm also thinking about, you know, how do these mothers feel? How do artists feel when they're creating in a time like this? And I wanted the question to focus on something beyond the earthly, right? Or thinking about destiny, you know, predestination. It's a concept that everyone has a special purpose and is born into the world at a given time, right? To fulfill that purpose. and that everyone maybe has their own personal destiny. And I'm wondering, do you believe that this concept of predestination could be applied to artists and the work they create in this place and time? You know, like the work that you're creating right now is coming through you for a reason, and that is going to have an impact on people because it's here to fulfill a purpose, just like humans are and souls are. You know, wondering what your take on it. And if you don't believe in predestination, that's cool too, but wondering if you just believe there's a reason for the creation of the work you're making now. How about you? Yeah, please. Oh, wait,
Thank you.
can I just say one thing first before you go? The image, just to speak to that since Lanish pulled it up. These images for me, like I wrote my dissertation on apocalyptic film and media, right? I focused on protagonists, on female protagonists in apocalyptic film. And it's hard to ignore that we're kind of living in this moment right now. So I pulled some images, not all from films, but some are about goddesses that protect the world because, you know, Mother Earth is a mother as well, and we're thinking about that theme. But there were so many images of mothers that were facing odds, death, violence, horrible times, all while trying to nurture, care for, and save their children, you know? So see, these are some of those images. And Ursula, as you were talking about your stuff, I was like, wow, like, yes, like the stuff that mothers must go through. And these are just some of the images. When you think of like Sarah Connor from Terminator, or, you know, Ripley from Aliens, and then also just thinking about history, like mamas that were taking their babies to freedom, you know, on the Underground Railroad. Like, you know, this is all real. So anyway, take it away, Ursula.
Yeah, no, I'm tripping. I'm chomping at the bit because that image on the bottom right is me, right? With a woman with 4.
Right.
What?
I was like, yo.
What is happening? What's going on right now? What are you trying to do? You know, I guess.
It's a loop, right?
Yeah, and that photo resonates with me the most because, well, I was just talking about this with someone last night, how I call on my epic memory, and I can't really teach y'all about what epic memory is because that's like a whole master class. You're gonna have to look that up. And but basically it's like you call on your ancestors, you call on that ancestral energy and power and spirit that you know is real because it got your ancestors through the most rugged of things, and you're connected to your ancestors, so thus you have that energy and that power to call on as well. And so when I, you know, like some of my favorite things to read are slave narratives, and they're rough on the spirit, but they're really good for the spirit too, because you need to know yourself as a Black woman, as a Black being on the planet. One of the most important things you can do is know thyself, because if you know yourself then you can love yourself, and then you can teach your brothers and sisters to do the same, and then that's how we, you know, hold and build each other up. So yeah, when I see images like that one on the bottom right, it resonates with me so strongly, and it makes me cry for everything that we have to do and how hard we have to fight on so many levels. But it also gives me a lot of joy and encouragement, because I know I have that strength inside me. So I just need to remember that and know that I have the ability to call on that epic memory and that ancestral energy and power in moments like this one that feels so impossible, so confusing, so difficult, so hurtful, so painful. Like, what are we going to do? How are we going to get through this? Well, you know, I'm connected to some people that got through some shit. So, I mean, I think I can do it.
I know you can. You made it this far.
Oh, and not only can I do it, but I intend to help some other people do it. That's my mission. Let's go.
Let's go. Speaking of which, Caitlin, what do you think? What's your thoughts about the birth of the baby in this time of Corona?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I don't know what the heck I'm doing half the time. And I think that, yeah, there is like this element of just like trusting that, like, I do believe everything happens for a reason. I do believe, like, that's such a cliche phrase, but I really believe that, and I really feel that, and I really have learned over the years to trust the process and to trust yourself and to trust your intuition, and just know that what you're facing right now is meant for something, is meant for growth and learning, and it can be an opportunity. And I think that, like, the whole world right now is being checked on that right now. Like, the whole world is being kind of forced into this space of, okay, what do we need to do differently? This space of creativity, this space of, like, this is not working. What we've been doing, nah, we're not doing it right. And we need to come together and figure out what can be done, what other ways there are to, you know, to reach a greater audience of people, to make sure people have what they need, to make sure we know how to look out for ourselves in different ways, look out for each other in different ways, in the face of, you know, a pandemic, and just on a regular basis, because that's how we got here. We weren't doing that on a regular basis. So I definitely think that, like, yeah, this project, I'm definitely grateful for being a part of it, because it's kind of forced me to have more structure to the way I'm thinking about these things, and, like, given me kind of like more of a a timeline, but also different people to bounce ideas off of who are like-minded. So I'm, like, grateful for everybody involved in this process, because it's great to log in with you guys every week and to check in. And even if I'm not really contributing much that day, it just feels good to be connected to you guys. And I think that that's all a part of it too. That's all a part of the process.
Definitely.
And yeah, I think what we're doing on an individual scale is just like a little small puzzle piece to what we're doing at a collective level right now. I think a lot of people are brainstorming and kind of like talking to their friends about, like, you know, all of the things that aren't where they need to be and how do we get there. So I think it's sparking some really good conversations, and, like, I want to see it balance out the struggle a little bit. And I think that's really optimistic, but I'm pushing for that. I'm holding on to that. So
Definitely. And I'm holding on to the belief that babies being born during this time are going to be our heroes and our heroines, and they're going to be the ones that really, like, check, like you said, check the world and get us straight.
They better have some superpowers, honestly.
They're going to be superheroes for sure. You're about to give birth to a superhero. I have no doubt. And because I believe that with my friend who just gave birth, like, just such a special thing to be born into this time. And I believe that about the artworks, that the artists that are able to create at this time, and actually are probably the ones that are going to create these master works, are going to be works that are going to, like, impact society, culture for ages to come. You know, I think that's really a possibility. So we got to keep an eye out for that and believe that these are some of the things that are going to get us through. But on that note, thank you so much, y'all. I'm going to turn it to the audience. I think that we got a question, actually. I saw one from Sudan. Sudan Green says, what was it like to have a partner in this? Importance, hardships, question mark. Who wants to take that? Urs, you want to take that?
Uh-oh, Sudan, what you trying to get real personal up in here? That's my oldest son. This is an interesting question. Let me be diplomatic. I'm getting better at being diplomatic as I get older and wiser. In the beginning, when I first began, and I was honestly still with my children's father. We're not together anymore, but we co-parent and try to do the best we can But yeah, it was super helpful. A lot of times I went away and left. So many times I had to go away, go out of town for gigs, and their father Derek was there, and so that was like being able to leave the children at home with their father, but also he would travel with me very often, and so my mama, all right, since we talking about mamas, my mama watched my sons for 30 days. When I went on tour that time. When I came back, she was 15 pounds lighter. She had lost 15 pounds. She came to the front door and I was like, I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry, but thank you. But yeah, we make these sacrifices. That's an interesting question, Sudan. Listen, let me answer it later or tomorrow.
Well, let's see. Are there any more questions that came through the email, Anish, actually?
No, we didn't have any other questions that came in.
Okay. Because basically, I think, one of the last things, if there are no more questions, I mean, people feel free if there are any more questions you want to add. But one of the things was that, wait, I think, did one come back?
Oh, well, wait about Caitlin's answer to that question.
Oh, okay. You're right, because it wasn't a personal question. It was from your son, but that actually was for both of you. Yes, please do answer that one, Caitlin. Do you want me to repeat it? Are you muted? The question was, where is it? I gotta scroll down. What was it like to have a partner in this? Importance, hardships.
A partner in this. So right now, I have many partners. Luckily, like when you are bringing a baby into the world, people come out of the woodwork. Like community has been everything, and family and my close friends. Like it's been a beautiful thing. So I don't know what I would do without them. So it's been amazing to just really see who's in your corner and see who's kind of like just ready to support and ready to show love and give, and without the expectation of getting something back. I think that's something that's just really beautiful that I've been really warmed with throughout this process, especially now the added, I found out I was pregnant at first, and that was a whole wild ride, and then the universe was like corona, and I was like, oh shit. And so people really came through and looked out for me in a lot of ways.
It takes a village, right?
It takes a village. Absolutely.
I mean, that's not cliche at all, because that's the truth. It takes a village. And really just the final thing was really for the both of you, in terms of the two of you, any kind of exchange around lessons, Ursula, that you could share with Caitlin, or any tips for other artists creating new work at this time. Ursula, first, I definitely want to know if you have any advice for Caitlin, or lessons you wanted to share, any parting words on the mother tip. Urs?
Yeah, it's hard, because I don't like, it's precarious, because every experience is different. There are some commonalities, right, that you can generalize and say there are commonalities, but every mama has to have their own journey, and I'll just say, you know what I'm going to say to you, Caitlin? I'm here. You could call a sister mama and ask a question, or cry, or scream, or whatever. You can hit a sister up. You know what I mean? That's what I will say, that now we are connected. Yes. So, yeah.
Thank you.
That's what I want to hear. I love it.
As I might.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And so then how about you, Caitlin? Do you have any questions for Ursula, actually, or anything that you might want to ask? Or also, if you have any tips for artists or moms to be like yourself that are in this situation, just like you are.
I do have a question for Ursula. As I start to think about moving into motherhood as an artist, I'm just thinking a lot about how once you become a mother, it's like a lot of times I think it can be easy to lose your identity or to lose kind of your individuality. And as somebody who I feel like I'm at kind of a point in my career where I'm gaining a little bit of leverage, and I don't want to lose that completely, but I don't want to not prioritize my child, of course, like that's number one. But yeah, I guess just can you speak on kind of what it was like for you? Did you have any apprehensive, like before having your first baby, about what your career and your aspirations and your dreams would look like, and what you would have to sacrifice with that, and how you kind of maintained who you are as Ursula and also a mother, you know?
What a
Wow.
beautiful, wow.
This has been on my brain for so long.
It's a great question.
That's a I'll give the crux of the answer and to be discussed between the two of us privately at another time, because it's a lot, right? Thank you for the question. Wow. That's such a beautiful question. I've lost and found myself many times. So many times. Oh my goodness. I've deconstructed and reconstructed myself so many times over the course of my mother artist life, and I'm still doing it. It's always happening. You're always teaching them, they're always teaching you. You have to, adjust. If you're having more than one, you have to adjust per child, right? Because each person comes with their own set of stuff. So it's like, yeah, and it's like getting to know who you are as a mother, and then coming to know who you are as a human being, as a woman, if you choose to call yourself a woman, and then as a mother, an artist. Is like crazy. It's so multi-tiered, and you have to like really you have to clarify who you are at each level, and then who you are with the amalgam of all of those things put together. And then you constantly have to be checking on yourself, Caitlin. Be checking on yourself, Caitlin. Be checking on yourself, Caitlin. Don't let nobody stop you from looking in on you. When nobody else is looking in on you, be sure to look in on you, because organically and divinely, I know you're going to look in on your child. It's going to be second nature, and maybe your partner and partners in your community, they're going to look in on you. But like, if you're not looking in on you. So that's like the most important bit for me that I would say. I wish that someone had told me that and deeply pounded and ingrained it into my psyche and my spirit, because I had to teach myself, or just put it together from mentors and just the actual living and experiencing of this wild artist mama life. But yeah, be sure to check in on Caitlin.
Yeah, that's super
great advice. And Caitlin, there's actually a question, if you guys don't mind. Thank you so much for hanging tight with us. We're gonna have a final question from the audience. The question is for you, Caitlin, in terms of what does the pandemic look like in terms of movement? Can you describe it, right? Oh, and there's one for the Ursula as well. What the pandemic sounds like in words, vernacular sound. So it's both questions for the two of you. Both about the pandemic, for Caitlin, for you, about movement, and for you, Ursula, about sound, vernacular. Who wants to go first? These are going to be our last questions.
I could go first.
Okay, great.
So again, this is one of those things I think that changes from day to day, but I'm gonna get up and move.
Oh, can I sing while you move?
Oh yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
All right. I was going to ask if we could do this anyway.
Oh, I love it. Thank you, Heather. Heather asked this question to the both of you.
Thank you, Heather. Super sister, I see you off in the distance, coming at me like a twister, packing more force than a 4-time, yes, heavyweight champion, kinky coil top cauldron of pain, passion, and black mama strength, hell-bent on making your mark in this world, angry ghetto grown world girl, huh? Swirling your way through the darkest of days and the brightest of nights, trying to fit some love in between. Yeah. Super sister. Yeah. Super sister. Yes. Super sister. I see you. Super sister. Yeah.
Thank you, Ursula. That was beautiful.
That was amazing.
Amazing. You guys are amazing.
Thank you, Heather, for the question. That's awesome.
So special. So listen, y'all, thank you for everyone, but just in case you didn't see in the chat, the Painted Bride is accepting donations, 100% of which are going to go to the artists, and you can donate at paintedbride.org/donate. For their Venmo, it's at paintedbride-art center. So you want to look for that information. It's also in your chat. Thank you to everyone for coming tonight and joining us. Yes.
Can I do a shameless plug for my oldest son, since we talking about artist mamas?
Of course.
Yeah, my son's song, that this shirt, he made it during this time, during this pandemic. It's his first song that he made completely on his own, made the track and everything, and he's acquired his own set. So it's very, it's connected to all of this that we're talking about, and it's called Spirits Up. His name on Instagram is at I'm Out Front, so I am OUT, front. I'm Out Front, and go check it out and listen. And thank you so much for giving me and Caitlin this moment, this platform, this opportunity to share and create.
Thank you. Oh, this was wonderful. I really enjoyed my Friday night. Now I'm back to just hanging by myself. So thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you, everyone.
Same here.
Come back next
Peace,
week.
y'all.
Come
Bye,
back.
Jerry. Bye, Jerry Givnish. Oh yeah, I'm moderating the talk next week, so come through. I don't know if I'm going to do as good a job. I'm not doing I'm not going to write all them bullet points and shit like you sent us, but I'm going to do my best.
Each his own. It's going to be good. I know you're going to be great.
I love y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye, Art Warriors.